Welcome to the Everything Coworking podcast. This is your host, Jamie Russo. Thank you for joining me. So, why do you want to listen to today's episode? I have an interview with two guests. I love having two guests on the show. I don't do it very often. It's fun. I have Adam Ramsey and Zach Cox. They are the co-owners of Workspace Collective in Ocala, Florida. And they have a super interesting story. They started their first co-working space in a building that was built in the 1890s. So it had a very sort of homey, comfortable feel, but their mission is to help entrepreneurs learn and grow and thrive in a community. They opened in October 2019 and pretty quickly opened a second location because they had filled their first location. So they doubled the size, opened about a quarter mile away. And they share a lot of details about their journey, how their spouses are involved, how they divide up responsibilities, how their background in sales has been a big asset, how they train their community managers. Their community managers are part of our Community Manager University. So Chelsea has been on for a while and Ryan just joined the team. How they're marketing their podcast studio, which I know will be interesting to a number of you, and some of the things that they learned moving from their first location to their second location. So it's a great story. I hope you enjoy our interview. Welcome. I am here with Adam Ramsey and Zach Cox. They are owners of Workspace Ocala in Ocala, Florida, which is near Orlando. And I am thrilled to hear their story. I have lots of questions for both of you. So thank you for joining me today. I was looking at your profiles on LinkedIn and coming up with lots of questions. So I thought, I think this will pull out some details. Let's start with, how did you get into co-working? What was the moment when you must have said to each other, or who had the idea? How did you get started? And then we'll walk through your journey.
Yeah, it's a great question. So Adam and I have known each other for a long time, worked together in my previous life in the payroll HR space. And we are actually at the place where most guys come up with the grand idea as a golf course.
Yeah.
And, Adam had mentioned to me that he was looking at this building in downtown Sanford, and he wanted to help small business owners in a bigger way than what we were doing in payroll. And it was funny because I had just gone out to San Francisco and visited my sister at Salesforce. And if you've seen that new building, the top floor is really a co-working space.
Yeah.
They've got free coffee and snacks. They've got awesome views. You got free Wi-Fi. And I remember saying to myself, like, this is so applicable on the East Coast in a lot of these smaller cities that don't typically have this type of service. And so when Adam had mentioned that to me, I mean, I just started smiling ear to ear. I'm like, dude, we have to take this idea and run with it. And so after that round of golf, we went back, we got our wives on the phone. Like literally, like I get chills just thinking about it because we just got so giddy about it. And our wives jumped in. They were 100% on board with it. And that's really sort of where the idea was born. That was, Adam, what was that, 4 years ago? Roughly?
Yeah. I think close to
4 years ago, right around 4 years ago at this point.
So Adam, how did you come across the idea of co-working?
Well, we both worked in large buildings, like through our sales careers, and then they kept downsizing. Like, so we were like 40,000 square feet. We went to like 17,000 square feet. Then people started working from home. And around that same time, we were saying, wow, it seems like where's office space going? And then I had a friend who was involved with Serendipity Labs. He actually sent me a link of what it was. I had no idea what it was. The name I heard, I'm like, what is this? And from there was when we started to look at it and say, wow, like that would be really cool to do in more of a smaller or mid-market, like a community where you could truly know your members and hopefully get them to work together if they want, maybe even pass referrals back and forth. And that's been our world in sales, is, referring people and taking good care of people and just being a good person in the community. And so, yeah, that's really kind of the first time I'd even heard of it was my buddy Scott from Serendipity. And we still keep in touch all the time, and we work together on a lot of stuff that we're doing to grow Workspace Collective. So pretty cool.
So you guys had day jobs. Did you keep your day jobs, or what does that look like today with the business?
Yeah, we still have them. We still have them. Both of our wives work really closely with us in the business. So they're like we call them the brains, we call them the back end, we call them the
Okay.
design.
So they
front
really
end,
did have to be on board. You're like, no, really, this
That's it.
we're all in.
this is an all-in
Yeah.
effort here.
Yeah, they're they're kind of everything under the sun there. And then of course our community managers are amazing. So we've had to balance, but when you're working more in an environment like this out of an office, we can do a lot of the things we do for regular work here in the different spaces. So, it's always a nice thing when you get to come, we're all working from home, but the days that I come out here, which are most of the days now, just because we're really, in growth mode, are always great. I mean, I love hanging out with the family and be at home, but I'm more productive here, hands down.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So what is the size of Ocala? Is it Ocala or Ocala?
Yeah, it's Ocala.
Ocala. Okay.
Yeah, it's a mid-market metro. It's in between. It lies in between Orlando and Gainesville. If you're familiar with Gainesville at all, population is going to be smaller than what you would see in Orlando, Tampa, or Jacksonville. Ocala is in a big growth mode, but these mid-market cities are really underserved in this market. There really isn't an option. Downtown Orlando, downtown Tampa, downtown Jacksonville, you'll probably have 15, 20 different co-working spaces. When we opened up our first location, Workspace Collective, nobody knew what co-working was. They'd never heard of it.
Good news,
before.
bad news, right? Lots of opportunity, lots of education to do. Yeah.
Totally. Lots of education. Friends, family are saying, "Are you sure? This is crazy." Blah, blah, blah. And we literally and we do it to this day. We give the first day free. People can come in, get a feel for the space, get a feel for what we do to try to connect people and see that we're member driven. We really want to make sure the member experience is great. And it's taken really a year and a half, 2 years to get people to understand what co-working is here. And fortunately, the community has really embraced it. It's been really, really cool to see.
And you have good time. Well, bad timing 2020, hopefully good timing now. Although Florida's been a little more moderate in closures and whatnot. We won't talk politics on the on the podcast, but so it hasn't gone live yet, but I interviewed Mark Gilbreth about the GSA award. I don't know if you guys heard us talking about that. The GSA has said we support flexibility. And I don't know how many government workers there are in Ocala, but I have to think like the smaller markets, this is, sort of their time. Mark and I were laughing. I think episode number 80 that I did was like, is suburban co-working a thing, right? Or smaller market? And to your point, there's still so much opportunity in smaller markets. I think,
Totally.
Markets like a Dallas or, you could maybe argue have been a little oversupplied, although I think that's probably shifting, but markets like yours. So I want to hear, you opened your first space. Tell us about kind of your journey. You opened the first space, which is sort of a unique property, and you've already opened your second space, which online looks totally different. So I'd love to hear kind of who you wanted to serve. You've alluded to that a little bit, and how you picked that first location, and then we'll get into the impetus for the second location.
Okay. So the first location, we were so nervous when we opened up that first space. It's only 3,000 square feet. Super nervous. Didn't know what we were getting into. The mission was to help small business owners, right? And we really wanted to go to the next step and make sure we could do whatever we needed to do to help them survive and succeed and grow and thrive and et cetera, et cetera. The house that we ended up getting, the commercial space, was built in 1890.
1890, that's awesome.
1890. It's a really cool space, but it was absolutely trashed. There was a lot of work that kind of went into the design and the thought process of how to fit what we wanted to do in there. And it turned out great. We have some private offices, three private offices. We have one shared office. And then we have like the living room area that we do the dedicated desks and first come, first served.
In the living room. I love it.
In the living room.
Yeah.
In the living room. And people really, really, really love the space. The thought process again was we want to serve the entrepreneurs, the freelancers, and we had a podcast studio right when we opened. We thought there was a big market. From north of Orlando, there was no place to record a podcast studio unless you were in somebody's garage. And so we hit that marketing pretty hard when we opened. And once people got in and saw the space, it started a light bulb came on, like, oh, you know, I can now have my allotment of hours in the conference room or podcast, and you're going to teach me how to do it. Like, why don't I just mess around and see what happens?
Not you specifically, but somebody will.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm not going in and teaching them anything. You know, it's funny because when we first opened that one, Adam and I were like, hey, the only way we're going to be able to do this is if we start our own podcast. We have to get in and start playing with the equipment.
Right.
So we did for a long time. For like 6 months, we were recording shows weekly. We didn't end up posting anywhere. We've got all these shows. I mean,
ooh.
you know, Jamie, like listening back on it now, I mean, they were like hour-long shows, and it was really just us rambling about anything that we thought was funny. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that whole podcast room really kind of took off too. We ended up getting probably 8 to 10 different companies that were doing some type of podcast recording in that space. And it ended up giving a lot of marketing value for the rest of the building. And people would come in for that, and then they'd see, oh my gosh, I can actually work from here. And that's sort of where it took off. You know, the reason we opened up the second space is because we were tired of telling people no. I mean, we really, in our business plan, we thought we'd fill up the 3,000 square foot space, the original space, in 9 to 12 months. And we ended up filling up the majority of that space in about 3.
Wow.
And so, you know, tired of saying no. We're going to open up the second space. Didn't think it was going to be Ocala. Thought it would be a surrounding area.
Okay. And
the demand was so high that we ended up looking for a new space. And that's where we opened up it's right downtown, much more industrial. And it's 2.5 times the size, 7,000 square feet. And it has a completely different vibe. Not really on purpose necessarily, but the two spaces attract different types of personalities, which is cool, right? You know, some people want to work in that homey, sort of comfortable, quiet
living room
environment
style.
Correct. And then you come over here, you're right downtown, you can walk to everything, much more industrial, much more open. And you know, we've been able to maintain sort of memberships at both spaces because they're unique in their own vibe. So
how far apart are the spaces?
Quarter mile.
Oh, super close. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
They're super close. They're super close.
Yeah. And do you lease both of the spaces?
We do. Yeah, we do. And we've actually, we're talking about if we can find the right one, getting a golf cart so members could go between both, which we think would be a cool part, right? But yeah, we currently lease them both. We really will be buying every property moving forward, and we really want to buy both of the properties that we're in. It's just we haven't worked that out yet, and that is part of the plan and part of the vision and the goal as we move into new markets is to be able to own the real estate and then have Workspace in there as an awesome tenant and just bring a great place where we can serve the members. I mean, that's truly the goal, and the long-term goal is to get well, really not even that long-term, but to really be able to help about 2,500 members in the next 4 to 5 years. You know, so that would encompass other areas of Florida, but probably 8 to 10 spaces to get that. And we think, the sooner we can do it, the better. You talk about like us and being able to, to help people, like that is it. I mean, the business we were in, we saw so many clients of ours because we worked with kind of smaller startups for the most part.
Okay.
They go out of business. I mean, 6 months, a year.
Yeah.
And most of the, 50% of that is money, capital, revenue. I mean, to go into a space and have to pay all those things. And we know if we can eliminate that part and get them in here for, our starting co-working is $199 a month, and we give a ton of amenities with it. Like they can get all that stuff and then launch their business. Our motto is work, grow, thrive. And we just want businesses to like eventually, hey, maybe they're going to get big enough to where we can't serve them anymore. And then they've got to move to their own spot, and we're going to be high-fiving on the way out, like, great, you did it. You started here with a little office. you graduated to the big office, and now you're moving on, doing bigger and better things. And that's why we do it. And that's what's fun about it.
Well, if you own the building, maybe you can move them upstairs.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. I love that.
The interesting
that.
thing about people moving out is, you talk about sort of the value of what you can do for them at the early stage, but then they're like off and running. They don't want to take time out to build out a space and do the construction and furniture. So do you offer sort of any coaching or support services to the early stage folks, or in the plans?
I'd say right now we definitely do. I mean, we do it probably more informally than formally, where we're definitely don't, at this point, we're not charging anybody to do any of that kind of. We just really try to connect people with, use our expertise in business to say, hey, here's how you would, if you need help setting up an entity, or you need help with an incorporation in Florida, we can help you, or at least point you in the right direction. But being able to refer them to the sphere of influence that we have in the community, to be able to say, hey, you need a good CPA, like these would be your best 3 to go to, based on what you're looking for. Or, hey, we might have a contact over here that is a restaurant customer, and they are looking for something like you guys. Let's make the introduction. So we just go, and Zach, there's nobody better at this than Zach. Like, this is what he's built his career on, but he will go in and meet someone and quickly find out. A lot of people will say, oh yeah, I'll hook you up with that person. And then you don't hear anything.
They don't, totally. Yeah.
He hand delivers all referrals. And, I've kind of learned that from him over the years, because he's been, a top salesperson at several different companies. It's like, if you do that and you take that kind of time to help the members, I mean, they're going to remember it. They're going to tell so many people, and then they're ultimately going to be successful. That person that you referred is more successful. And that's how we've built our business before this. And that's how we want to continue to do it as we grow.
And sometimes it's about just being exposed to people who are successful, right? You talked about the businesses that fail. Like, sometimes it's like a mindset thing. We talked in our pre-chat about, I've been looking for a co-working space that's a good fit. And sometimes I think, when I'm at home, it's like hard to get into like CEO mode.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you got to
totally.
And you got to so I have to like give myself a little pep talk. And I feel like that's one of the reasons I need to get out of the house, and why I think it's so important that people do, is because you need to be around other people who are in that mode, right? Making things happen, being productive
Totally.
in that headspace.
Well, it's funny, and Adam sort of hit on it. One of the things we didn't anticipate was who was going to be attracted to this type of environment. And different industries, different ages, different backgrounds, but everybody has that general work hard, play hard mentality. Do you know what I mean?
The mindset, versus the demographic, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everyone here feeds off of the success of each other. So you'll see, whether it's a new lawyer that we saw, one of our first accounts that signed up, and she started with just conference room space and virtual mail, and she sort of upgraded. And every time we see her, she talks to us about how happy she is that we were here for her when she first started. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to make it work. And the other members in the space sort of gave her the confidence that she was on the right path, and they were going through the same struggles, et cetera, et cetera. And Adam hit that on the head. Like, we're huge on connecting people. Like, it's more than just, our hashtag on any of our social always is more than just office space, right? And it's because we really want to go, Malcolm Gladwell talks about being a connector. And that's huge. I've always taken that to heart. Like, I want to do whatever we can do to connect people. If you want to meet with the mayor of Ocala, awesome. I'm going to make that happen for you. Or if you want to go and you want to talk to the Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Council, you want to go talk to the Performing Arts Center, there's some value there. Let's make that happen. Let's make it happen in our space. And everybody sort of wins. So, and people have responded to it.
So I'm curious, hopefully this isn't a super challenging question, but you two have that competency, which I think is critical to success, right? The stickiness that comes out of what happens, and feeling like there are people who care about me. So you have a growth plan, and you already have 2 locations, and there are 2 of you, but you have a team. How do you transfer like some of your sales and connection skills to your team?
Yeah, that's something we think about all the time. And so my background in the sales side is sales leadership. And so I've worked, so I think, when we think about our team that we have with our community managers and our wives and ourselves, we all have I think a little bit of a niche that kind of complements each other. So, I know how important it is to build a culture around your team. So, when we think about growth and not being able to okay, the next location, we won't be able to be here 4 days a week.
You can't do right. You won't be able to make all those, connections.
Yeah. And so we've got even at this point of where we are, we have some top drawer candidates that we've interviewed that were a little bit out of our scope at first, but we know that we've got a great relationship now, and we know they're going to be the one as we grow. Someone that has the same mindset, has the same vision that we have. And then it's a matter of getting the growth and then plugging them in, and then slowly, building that team around those folks. Because we don't want to, there'll be no way with 10 spaces that Zach and I are running around making referrals, right? So but we'll have to do a lot with the community, a lot with networking, and then and be able to teach and develop them and make them feel comfortable with that skill. Number one for our community managers is just like the service end of it, right? So, we have to teach some of the sales, but that's easy. We've been doing that forever. We can teach them sales. We can teach them follow up. Number one is, hey, are they a good person? Is this someone when you're interviewing them that we would want to have at our home, having dinner with the family?
In the living room.
If we can do that, and we know that we get that good vibe about it, then we can teach them everything else and develop them up to the way that we want it. And nobody's perfect. But the other thing is, if you're not letting them be authentic in the way that they go to customers, then it's not going to feel right either. So we've done a great job so far with our hiring. I know it's tough, right? And it's sometimes a gut choice, but it's all about bringing the right people in to complement what we're doing. And hopefully we can do a great job of it. I know it's going to be tough. That's probably going to be one of the hardest things we face as we grow, is the people aspect of it. And it's tough now to find people. Our last interview for here, we interviewed, we sourced about 70 good candidates. We interviewed 15, we hired one. And it was,
wow.
It was a tough decision, but through that, what it did, all that legwork, now we have these other candidates that we can call on when we need. And that's it's a lot of work, but it will pay off for us as we continue to grow.
Yeah, and Jamie, if I can add to that too, it's sort of a lead by example mentality, right? Our community managers are learning through what they're seeing through Adam and through me, the importance of networking, the importance of following up with people. The community manager university that you have is it's worth its weight in gold. Being able to kind of get the background from the operations standpoint, and then also getting, and just picking up word tracks. Like Adam said, it's about being authentic, but hearing how Adam or I will go about connecting somebody with whoever they want to connect with, or maybe it's just a birthday card to one of our members, or maybe it's their kid's first soccer game, or maybe they're a Gator fan and they want a jersey. These are things that we go sort of above and beyond with our members to make sure they know that they're appreciated, they're welcomed. And and Chelsea, who I think you've talked with a little bit, she picks up those, one of our community managers, she picks up those and takes the ball and runs with it. And our new community manager, Ryan, does the same thing. And I have to lean on Adam big time for that piece, because I'm not in that sales leadership role. So the interview process, I'm foreign to it. He's looking at me like I've got four eyes sometimes with some of the questions I'm asking. But that's sort of the part of the unique aspect of our team, is each one of us, including our wives, really bring something unique to the table that have allowed us to really grow at a fast pace.
Yeah. So Chelsea is very impressive. I can tell she gets on our community manager calls, and I can tell she's fantastic. Yeah. And I ask about, the sales piece and the connection piece, because it's easy to teach a lot of the other aspects, right? They're more objective, and that subjective piece, especially when you get someone who's not as experienced just in business and in life, right? Like you guys have a lot of reps in doing this. And so, I'm always, curious about ways to help the community managers kind of develop in that way. So yeah, they're lucky to have you guys as mentors.
If we didn't have that sales background, and Adam, you can back me up on this. If we didn't come from that environment, it would be much more challenging.
Yeah.
I'm 17 years into a sales career. Adam is probably 20, 21 years in. And so that has made the sales aspect, the connecting aspect, the getting in front of people and putting yourself out there aspect much easier.
Yeah.
That would be challenging if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I suspect you could be very helpful to some of your members. At some point, maybe you'll get to the point where you've got sort of the growth down and I could see you guys doing something with sales in terms of educating and coaching members. But
we've definitely talked about it.
I can tell you guys have a lot you want to accomplish. So
yeah, you're right.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in really quickly before we continue with our discussion. If you're working on opening a co-working space, I want to invite you to join me for my free masterclass, 3 behind-the-scenes secrets to opening a co-working space. If you're working on opening a co-working space, I want to share the 3 decisions that I've seen successful operators make when they're creating their co-working business. The masterclass is totally free. It's about an hour. It includes some Q&A. If you'd like to join me, you can register at everythingcoworking.com/masterclass. If you already have a co-working space, I want to make sure you know about Community Manager University. Community Manager University is a training and development platform for community managers, and it can be for owner operators. It has content, training, resources, templates from day one to general manager. The platform includes mini courses that cover the major buckets of the community manager role, from community management, operations, sales and marketing, finance, and leadership. The content is laid out in a graduated learning path, so the community manager can identify what content is most relevant to them depending on their experience and kind of jump in from there. We provide a live brand new training every single month for the community manager group. We also host a live Q&A call every single month so that the community managers can work through any challenges that they're having or opportunities, get ideas from other community managers, build their own peer network. We also have a private Slack group for the group. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go to everythingcoworking.com/community manager. So I'm curious about your partnership because I've seen partnerships fall apart. People will come to me and say they're looking for a partner, and I'll, sort of poke around a little bit. And well, are you just lonely? Are you just stressed? Because having a partner is a big deal, right? What are you trying to solve with having a partner? How do you make it work? What's the secret to this, especially having your spouses involved, which is sort of another, could be a complicating factor.
Yeah, that's a big one, because I know, and we've seen it with all the businesses that we've worked with over the years, like partnerships that failed, and we definitely knew there's a risk with that. We've known each other a long time, so I'd say for people that are going to have a partner, one, communicate everything. I mean, we have a text chain. We probably do 150 texts a day between us, bouncing ideas off each other. Phone calls. We'll meet up on the weekends, try to make it fun, but we're talking work and what's next. And so I'd say, communication, if you can pick a partner that complements you. I mean, if we had 4 people that were like Zach and I, we would have already failed, so we would be sales. We would have never collected any money from any of the members, right? So I mean, our having people that complement each other and just knowing that person well, I think you've always got to be willing to, to give and take, right? There's going to be certain ideas, like Zach's way more creative, Cassandra's way more creative than I am, right? I'm more like, okay, just let's do it, let's fit it in, and so there's certain things that you have to say, well, all right, let's do it. And when you do that, and everyone kind of gets to have their idea heard, or sometimes my idea doesn't work, but it's like the finished product is awesome. So when we get our heads together, the finished product is always great, right? And then you learn new things from people that are your partners. Because I think, I in the sales world that I've worked in and leading with people, is that you work with a bunch of different people that all have different personalities. So you have to learn how to be okay with those things. But I think it makes you better. It makes you more unique. It's made us, it's actually made it a lot more fun. And to think if Zach or I tried to do this on our own, I don't know how we'd do it. I mean, we definitely couldn't be working another job and running the co-working space. It just wouldn't happen. Too much to do. So yeah, so I think those are, that's kind of the foundation. But I mean, communication is just got to be number one all day long.
So I'm curious, first space to second space, what were some of the things you learned from the first? First, what was the time frame? You mentioned you filled up really quickly in the first space. And we're like, okay, let's do it. When did you open your first space and when did you open your second location?
We opened up our first location October of 2019. We opened up our second location. We've only been open three months. Okay. So we opened up we just recently opened up our second location.
You went
both projects took a long time to fruition too. I mean, both projects. The most frustrating part about the second location was all of the delays with materials and
because you were doing it during COVID, basically.
Correct. I mean, our GC told us, same GC as the first one, that we'd be open in March. And I don't think we ended up opening until June.
Yeah.
June 1st,
that is not the worst of delays that I've ever heard. No,
but it was like, wow, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? And we had already signed the lease, and there was just a lot of turmoil there with stuff that should not have been so delayed.
Yeah.
But you had asked about what the biggest lesson was from the first one to the second one. Opening the first one, sometimes there's ignorance is bliss, right? We had no idea from an operation standpoint, what we didn't know. Like, what software are you going to pick to run the back office? How are you going to utilize it? How are you going to learn it? How are you going to teach your community manager that? The first 2 weeks we opened our first space, we didn't even know how to take payment.
Right.
Like people, I mean, it's funny now, but we were freaking out when we first started. Like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we actually got to learn how to take a credit card or take an ACH or whatever the case may be. So, learning that process, and then getting processes in place for inventory, for bringing on a new member, for running the podcast room and teaching members how to use the app or whatever the case may be. Opening the second space, I think it would have been hard to have two and not know that. You know what I mean? Getting the second one open and already having the time to train the community manager and then opening up our book of processes really made that whole process a lot easier. And we really should thank you for a lot of that stuff. I mean, I've been listening to your podcast, now since we opened, and there's so many gems in there that really have made our lives a lot easier that we just wouldn't have had if it wasn't for you. And so that probably for the most part would be the biggest thing, is just the processes and the operation side.
Yep. Did you make any shifts? So the second space is larger. What does the product mix look like there? Offices, open space?
Yep. So it's, product mix is pretty close. We have 18 private offices here. So as we were in build out phase, we knew that the micro offices were going to be important to have. So we actually added 3 even kind of further down after the plans were done to make sure that, we had space for that. Here we have a day office, which is nice. So it's one of the micro offices that we're using as a day. Actually, it's been rented out more as a week office. So which is awesome. And then aside from that, they're pretty similar. The podcast studio here, a little bit bigger, and we took it to the next level and said, okay, we want to be able to give them a place to not only do a podcast, but record content for YouTubes or trainings. So we have several different areas in there that you can turn cameras and record. We also have people on staff to be able to do the video and help and do editing there, as well as if someone fully wanted like a full launch package for a podcast, which would be, a lot of people will go in and record, but they never get it out. Zach and I are 2 of those people, right? So
how do I get
this way?
Apple?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but it's a little, you get a little nervous if you're putting out a podcast, but this would take it from start to finish. I mean, intro music, editing, removing the the exit, the intro, and just everything to get them to launch it, right? So, and then doing everything that goes along with that. So that's been an upskill from Hill. We just brought our first customer on there, which was really exciting. And we have our new community manager here, Ryan, has a background in that video. So we're kind of combining his great service that he has with also this video side, which is just amazing. And like, we're just scratching the surface of this. So that's kind of a new thing here. And then, and members can go to both to do that. Like, so our members at Fort King can come here and do that and vice versa. And then here we also have a lounge, which we just didn't have room for in the first space. So the lounge, we have Zach got us an Xbox in there. He's a gamer.
That was Zach's contribution.
I had to have an Xbox.
He used to be a gamer. We've got foosball in there. We've got a dartboard, and then record player. Just like a really cool area where you can sit and just chill out and not work. So that's been really a cool add. And then aside from that, though, our amenities are probably what you see. I mean, we've got all the different types we always use local coffee brewers. So here we use Sweetwater, which is a local coffee brewer. We've got, we've got the French press. We do Nespresso. We've got beer on tap. So we offer the members a beer a day from a local brewery. And then the snacks and all those things are included with all the membership. So I don't know, I always miss something because I feel like we do a lot and we're always adding something, but that's kind of the mix we have here. And I think the members really enjoy it.
Totally. It's funny. I think people sort of downplay some of the amenities sometimes. Even just having the Nespresso, that's my other holdup from aside from the fact that I don't have a favorite local space yet is right. My favorite thing in the morning is like my cappuccino.
Yep.
And most spaces don't do it. And we always had the Nespresso machine because it's like the easy way to execute on that
Totally.
Without having the, grinding, whatever. So I love it that you do that because it's like the tipping factor for some people. I suspect. I'm like, I can't. I was like, well, I could have it at home and then go into the space. I don't want to pay the like $5 or whatever at Starbucks, for my almond milk. And anyway, okay, I have two questions. What size are your micro offices? People want to know the details, so I have.
Yeah, we've got like let's see, 3 different sizes of micro offices. So the smallest ones are 6.5 by 7. And then I think the next ones are like 8 by 7. And then we've got these 3 larger ones, which are a little unique. They're narrower, so they're only like 7.5, 8 feet wide, but they go 16 feet and they all have their own windows. So when we built out this space, there were no windows on one side of the building and we needed the light to come in, right? So we put all windows down the whole side. And so that is the majority. We have 8 private offices in there, but 3 micros on that side. And those all sold. I mean, like Zach said, they all sold really quickly. I mean, there was no hesitation. People walked in. I guess they just sold themselves. They walked in, they saw, they're like, that's for me. I don't even need to ask you a lot of questions. I want it. And
just
we were like, great.
Great. Do you stage the offices or are they just like desk and chair?
Yeah, no, we stage them. Well, desk chair, the girls' wives again came in and made everything look great, right? From the start. So at least one of the options was decked out with some other items, pictures on the walls, things like that. And then some were just, hey, if you want what we give you, which is, we do monitors, chairs, file cabinets in the office, and then desks in all offices. But we took a lot of recommendations from the members that booked with us early for the new space. Some of them wanted TVs hung. So we came in on the weekend and hung TVs. Some of them wanted, maybe wiring in a certain place, or they wanted, the dry erase boards. And so we put those in for them just because they were our first members here. And we're always willing to do that kind of stuff for members. I mean, it takes a little extra work, but I think to say, hey, we'll just spend the end of the day and we'll go and do that for them, I think it goes a long way.
I've heard that as a bit of a theme lately, kind of like a little bit of customization of the space goes a long way in helping people feel like it's my space and helping with stickiness, right? If it's the way they want it to be and it's, decorated nicely, it's better than the home office.
Totally.
Yeah, that's our thoughts exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So your small micro office is like desk and chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think people get really nervous about, really? That's because that's like 36 square feet, right?
Mhm.
And WeWork does that model, but people are like, really? Really? That's like a closet or a phone booth, right? And I'm like, no, people, because the price point on it is,
Yeah,
Correct.
the price is good, and all of those have, most of them have natural light, but all of them have a door that's glass, right? So
yeah,
you can get in and out. We've had some that put up a shade because they just want to be able to raise it and lower it, and we're totally cool with that. And Zach and I have worked out of those, and like, it works great for me. I mean, it
it's
works
all
great
you
for the
need,
members. Like,
totally.
the feedback we've gotten from members is like, hey, I love it. And some of them are there, as you know, some of them are there every day, and some of them come twice a day, and some are, very rarely there and just use it for meetings. So yeah, we definitely, I think the micro office idea and going like more micro was something that we all heard on one of your podcasts, and we said, okay, like, I think Ashley was the one that was like, we got to have more. We need more of those.
Yep.
And
More of those.
I think
They're
if we
tricky
could,
because offices are expensive to build out, right? When you're looking at your startup budget, but
yeah,
if pro forma over the long term, and to your point, like you fill up so fast. And so
Yeah,
you're
we
cash
filled
flowing quickly, which is
we filled those micros so fast. I mean, they really sold out first. And they are, you're right, that, with the small offices next to each other, you have to worry about sound. That was a big deal for us. Like, we had to soundproof above and beyond what you normally would do. I mean, that ended up costing us an extra probably 30 grand in the space, but it's worth it in spades because people need that privacy. And to Adam's point, the people that signed up before we opened, we let them customize their office with paint color, wallpaper, like whatever they wanted to make that space theirs. We did, and it really sort of helped, get people to sign up before we opened.
So I'm also curious about your podcast marketing, because I think a lot of space owners get on the podcast bandwagon because it sounds sexy and they think, oh, this is, it'll be a great marketing benefit. And yet I talk to so many operators who are like, yeah, it's kind of hanging out and nobody really uses it. And we might turn it back into an office. And you guys are like doubling down on it. So
Yeah.
what do you think is the secret to the success?
Yeah, I think you had said in the beginning of this conversation, it's a mindset, and it's same with the podcast room. It's all a mindset. If you are thinking that it's failing, it's probably failing. If you talk about it and you be about it and you let people know what you're doing, and again, you have people running stuff out of that, it makes it a lot easier. For us, again, we have 100 things we want to accomplish. We have a script, and we want to start doing some social advertising about a podcast launch.
Yeah.
Again, people in a first space, it was all about giving you a space where you could record the content, but then it was up to you to kind of take it to the next level. And a lot of the people would come in and record it, but then it would die because they didn't know what to do. And so here, I think for your operators that are around the country, if they have that in place, it's about focusing on it. Like, hey, let's get a script together. Let's do an easy, you can record the video with your phone. Let's get a 15-second, 30-second advertisement that you boost on Instagram or Facebook and talk about about the capabilities in the podcast studio. We're fortunate with our new community manager, Ryan, that he really can take a lot of that video work and edit it and do all of it in-house. But prior to that, again, with connections and people we knew in the area, we were looking to partner with graphic designers, video editors, audio editors, and things like that, so we could offer a package.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was the vision with our new space, was a YouTube studio, one-stop shop. All you have to do is come in and record content, and we'll take it from there. And so my keys there would just be focus on it, push it out there. There is a need for that, especially if it's included in it's a value add in your membership. And it's been working for us.
Wait, you need to add somebody to do show notes. My team member, Kristen, was like, you owe me show notes for number 214. And this morning I'm like, oh, I gotta, it's like always the last thing I do. And I need to figure out a way to outsource.
Now, are you talking about transcribing it?
So we have a tool that transcribes, although those are never perfect, right? So Kristen will go in and kind of, zhuzh it, but just like the sort of what this episode is about,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
keywords. Sometimes it takes me forever to write those. So,
So I've got a solution for that. It's
okay,
funny.
tell me. Yeah.
Again, it's a connector. So we've got a connection with a court reporter that we've known for a long time that is sort of getting away from doing a lot of the court reporting, and they were looking for a way to sort of earn some money on the side. And so we now have the ability to use her to transcribe all of our stuff. And if there's notes on the episode or whatever else that needs to be done, she can sort of knock all that out for us.
That's such an interesting like transfer of skill, because
Yes.
that makes complete sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's an interesting environment because, as you know, with COVID, a lot of that court reporting work is being done Zoom or remote or whatever. So a lot of these people have more time on their hands. And so we're really excited about rolling that out.
I love that. And it's
Yeah.
more creative work. I'm excited for her.
Totally.
Content. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Because the one other thing I really struggle with is repurposing the content, right? I have so much podcast content. How do you get it into a blog post?
Yeah.
I don't have time to do it. So add that to your package too. And the court reporter, I wonder if that would be in her skill set to kind of do both of those. I don't know.
Well, and also think about like an ebook, because you can repurpose your transcripts.
I mean, so much, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my content. You mentioned like gems, but they're kind of all over the place. And we try to make those, we organize them for our paid programs. But okay, I'm looking at my list to see what else we're coming up on time here.
No problem.
So, okay, I like to ask these because I think it's helpful. So for you guys, and we've talked about this a little bit, maybe for your full team, although you have such a varied team that you may have your bases all covered, but what do you guys find easy about the business, and what's harder? Like, as you're thinking about, maybe growth and whatnot, like what are the challenges that you talk about on the golf course?
Yeah, so easy, and we've already talked about it a little bit, was the sales side.
Yeah,
right? The sales side, the service side.
Yeah,
it's our background.
Your zone of
we were
genius.
comfortable with it. Getting in front of people and connecting people always came second nature to us. Teaching that and instilling that in our community managers is a little bit more difficult. But again, you lead by example. Adam said we want our community managers to sell their way. We want them to let their own personality come out, and also give them, like I had mentioned, like a gift card, or maybe a birthday card with a gift certificate, or connect them to a local restaurant or whatever. They don't need to come to us for approvals on that. Like, I want them to be able to have the ability to do that on their own and understand the value that comes associated with that and the freedom that comes with that. And so I think that's sort of been an easy transition for us on opening. The hard stuff, like we talked about, the operation side. For me, especially, I'm sure you can tell, I'm not a details guy.
Yeah.
At all. Like, I struggle with that tremendously. And Adam's wife, Ashley, I know she hates me for it. I'm big picture, and I'll go after it. But, learning the operations and learning how to use the software that we use and learning how to take payments and getting the processes is like pulling fingernails out for me. And it's funny, we didn't plan with the four of us, right? Me and Adam and my wife, Cassandra, and his wife, Ashley, we didn't really plan to go into different caveats of specialty. It just sort of happened naturally. My wife loves design and interior design and shopping and things like that. And
that's a huge asset to have on the team.
Oh, huge asset.
Yeah.
I mean, she's forward thinking. And if you've seen pictures of our space, that really sort of shines through. Adam and I, I'm 5 minutes into that, and my head hurts and I'm ready to like go and do something else.
Yeah.
And Ashley is excellent with finances and is excellent with keeping us on budget and processes and operations and things like that. And Adam and I are sort of the big picture guy. And that's the operations and the processes point has been the struggle for us, I think.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with those that I'll just add to that is like you have to have consistency with those processes. And it was nice coming into the new space because we had those built out, but now there's things that have added on that we have to consistently do. I mean, you can't just go down and say, oh, we're going to do this and start there and go at it for a month or two and expect that you're going to get results. Like, you got to keep at it. We've got to keep at it. You got to keep advertising, or keep, I mean, we do guerrilla marketing and we'll take our signs and we post them around the area. I mean, we still do that kind of stuff. So it's like, if you're doing those things and you just did it once, well, you're not going to get results. But if you do it consistently, good things eventually happen, even if it seems like they're not working at first.
That tenacity is probably part of your sales background, which is such a huge advantage. I mean, you guys have gotten sort of lucky because, right, there's trade-offs to any background, right? But so you've sort of created the full team that sounds like it's pretty well balanced, which is awesome. Yes. Because, right, you guys might be a disaster without just operationally without.
Would be. Well, 100%. We wouldn't be here still. Like, it would be a problem.
The folks who are super skilled at operations, like, can give you your, manual, like, on a silver platter, but don't realize the tenacity that your sales funnel requires, will also struggle. So,
totally.
Yeah, you guys are in good shape with the balanced team. And even if somebody, decides to do something else, at some point, you at least you recognize that skill set and what you need to replace. Because I feel like that takes a long time for people to kind of figure out and fill those gaps.
Totally.
Definitely. Yeah.
So,
okay, what's next? You talked about kind of some growth. What's your focus for the next year or two?
Adam, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take it. So we're looking at spaces now, right? So we've got 3 different markets that we're looking at in Florida to grow. Again, we're going to stick in the mid kind of metro type markets that we really feel will bring the most value. And so the goal is to, by the end of the year, have that next one open. And then we've gotten a lot of interest from just friends and business associates that want to be a part of what we're doing. And so we're working through ways to bring some of those guys on from the investment of the real estate side. We'll still do the workspace side. That's super exciting. That's a whole new world too that we're in, but we're running really fast that way because we want to get to where 10 locations is kind of where our head is at in the next 3 to 5 years, and then after that we'll probably sit down or maybe go play golf and see what's next. But the enjoyment we've gotten out of the members and hearing how much they appreciate what we're doing is like it really drives us. So we want to continue to do it, and we know that there's places that don't have this, that need it, that want it, or that don't even know about it, and then we'll go in and educate them as to, hey, this would be a good thing for you and your business. So that's it. We're gonna probably continue to add things. We're always open to any ideas. So as we hear things, I mean, we heard of people putting sleeping pods in their co-working. So we're like, we might do that. My wife wants to put the desk on top of the treadmill. We might have that in the next space. I mean, we constantly have ideas and things we want to do, and we're just gonna, continue to not get too far away from the core business, which is the members and helping them grow and thrive. But also, hey, if we can add something here that would be cool that no one else is doing, like, we're probably going to try it and see what happens, So, so that's kind of us. And, we're looking forward to the next 5, 10, however many years it is, but we're looking to really, do this as often and as much as possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your story. You guys are inspiring, and I love the details you share, because I think people will learn a lot from your stories and what you've figured out, and some pretty quick growth, especially during a pandemic. I didn't realize you had just opened the first location like in October. Yeah. So you guys are moving and grooving. Well, please stay in touch. We'll have to have you back on and hear about the growth. Hopefully you can move the real estate process fast enough for that's usually the holdup, right? Can you get it to go fast enough?
Correct.
Which you want to move. So,
and we want to say thank you. Like, really, I mean, I don't know if you hear it enough, but the value that you have brought with your topics and the information that we've used from your podcast since we started listening to you has been invaluable. It really has helped us a lot. And we were just super excited to be on the show and get to meet you, virtually today. And we're looking forward to staying in touch with you and see what happens next.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have
Thanks,
a good
Jamie.
day.